Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of an introduction here. So when you download Quantower, you're going to download specifically the AMP account. This bar at the top will open. It already has my setup here, but this bar at the top will open. This is where you can access anything. So you click on this AMP button here in the corner. You can access new charts. You can access the DOM. You can access various different things that you want to see. You can actually execute directly through the platform. I use it mostly for level 2, for the delta footprint, and for the DOM, and I'll show you a couple of those as we go through. If you want to open, let's say, a footprint, so you would open a chart, click open chart, that would then open a new chart. You can then unbind it if you want, so you want to look at them individually. So we're going to I actually have them grouped together here, so we can do that afterwards, but in the meantime you group it together. You ungroup it and you add it here. We're going to find the ES. They're a little bit harder to find, some of these. This ES is actually EPU23, that's the current month. You can always choose a different month. So I'm going to pick this. So you can see here this is actually the chart. Okay, now you can choose a number of different charts. So you can have the candlestick chart. We're going to choose the, you can have a bar chart, line chart, etc. area, Quantower. This is how you can sort of have your general chart. You can also have the option to use various other tools on this chart. So we always start with a chart, and then we can have let's show the toolbar at the bottom, show the volume toolbar. We can then set the left profile. So we go here to left profile and we set the data source to be delta, and we can set wherever you want to do it. I like the daily delta, and we click enabled, and it'll now be automatically enabled on the chart. Okay. We can go to settings. There's a couple of things we can change. If you can change the various options, you can actually show multiple timings on it if you want to do that. I like to have the right profile on as the level 2. So in order to do that, it's actually an indicator. So we go to indicators, add indicator, level 2 indicator. Double click it. Okay, I like to have level count of 100, and you can see here how it then opens. I pin it to price scale so it doesn't show separately. One other thing I really like to do is I put a filter in. So if I put a filter, make it pink, you see I've shared it a couple of times. Let's change the filter to 200, and that automatically has all the important levels standing out. Okay, let's close that. I make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see the numbers. If you make it big enough, then you can see the numbers that actually show up. Now, I'm going to go to cluster here, because what we're going to try and do now is we're going to enable a cluster, and what this does is this is where we can put the delta footprint together. So we enable the cluster. There's a couple of ways, a couple of things we can do with the cluster. So we can either show just the general cluster, which is some of the buys and sells for each within each candle. And the cluster is beautiful because you can really see what's going on. Okay, so I usually use I enable cluster and I choose the histogram option, and then the data type, single type, and data type is delta. And right away you can see exactly the delta. I changed the color a little bit. Oh, there we go. So now you can see, let's just take off the title on the main page so that you can see what it looks like. We don't need to see it on the background. And you can, if you scroll here, you can make it bigger or smaller. I like to have it as small as possible while still being able to see the numbers. So that's how I set up my delta chart. You've got lots of different options. So I have if you look here, this is an option where I have a 5-minute chart where it actually shows all the buys and sells on either side, as well as the point of control, so you can see what's going on. I have a TPO chart, which which I'm just gonna pull up with the appropriate. You can see how often I use it. It still has the old contract on, but we can have a TPO chart that helps with volume profile and things like that. I have a 1 minute regular footprint chart, so you can actually see again all the buys and sells on either side. Sometimes I like to see what's going on. You can see here, for example, right, strong imbalance. I also have this on a 5 minute, so I don't use this that much, but sometimes it's easier to see. Sometimes it's easier to see the delta on a 5 minute, so you can actually see what's going on as it activates into each candle on a 5 minute basis. Now I'm going to go back to my main chart here, because my main chart here has something that's couple of other additional pieces. So there's also this section here, which is the time histogram. You can see if I disable it, it just shows the delta, relevant delta for every candle, and that enables me to see very quickly, is it a pump on low delta? It has the delta flipped, so if I'm coming up to an important level, I like to see the delta flip. So I like to see, let's say we're pushing up. This is the level here, all green, and then all of a sudden the delta turns red. So now I know that it's safer to get into something like this. Now if this was like a 900 delta, that would be even better. So that enables me very quickly to see what's going on. The section here at the bottom is just the time statistics, so you can choose whatever you want to have in there. I like to have a cumulative delta graph. It doesn't always show up, but it'll actually show whether the cumulative delta is going up or down. I like to have the power trades. Now power trades is a really interesting piece. Power trades, you can set basically, I have it set to a volume of 2000 within 3 seconds. Now if I have 2000 lots transacted in less than 3 seconds, it'll highlight it in yellow and give me an audible volume as well. So some of the liquidity sweeps today really were powerful, and as soon as those things happen during the day, we've got some really good action coming. Either a bounce, because sometimes there'll be a level in here that we want to, there'll be sudden buying, or there'll be sudden selling, and then we'll retest that and then come back to it. So for example, when we broke through the 4,000 level, right? We broke through the 4,000 level with a power candle. Now, I was then able to short it again. I looked for the biggest delta within that candle, and that biggest delta was just before 4,000. I put a sell in at that retest, and the rest is history. It went straight down. So that's the power trades, and I think that's basically the delta footprint chart. Now, in addition to the delta footprint chart, I use the DOM. Now the DOM you can set up for each individual ticker. I have one for ES and one for NQ, and I set them next to each other. And that helps with looking at the speed of the tape and trying to work out, is one going up, one going down, how fast how fast are they going in relation to each other? Is one at the low of day? So you can see here, this is actually signifying the low of day. Is one at high of day? Is one at the point of control? Is one different things that you can see through the day as you watch them next to each other. Now the way I've got these DOMs set up, so obviously the market's closed now, so it's not actually moving, but I've got a number of columns. So I have the delta, which very quickly helps me see, okay, was this selling at this level? Has this been a big selling level? Has this been a big buying level? And then they're highlighted. So if it's the biggest selling level of the day, it'll be yellow. If it's the biggest buying level of the day, it'll be yellow. But you can see very quickly, 4382 here was a big selling level. The other thing I have on the right hand side is the volume. So basically this is a volume profile, shows me how much was transacted at a certain volume. So for example, earlier it's difficult, it doesn't scroll up properly. Earlier today I was able to see volume accumulating within a couple of points. I think it's 4414, and you could just see it accumulating, and then all of a sudden, bam, it blew straight through 4417, and you could see that someone was accumulating it in order to lift it higher. I have the bids and the asks, and this is essentially the level 2, so you can see how many resting orders are here, how many resting orders on this side. I have a little section here where you can see where the last number transacted was. Anyway, that's basically it. It's very neat, very easy to use. On the NQ side, I've actually got it not cumulative, it's consolidated. So although there's 4 ticks in 14750, for example, I only show it as one. And the reason I do that is because, first of all, it's easier to see as it moves up and down, but it's also easier to relate it to ES. So if I had it as, every tick, it would just move way too quickly in relation to ES. If I've got it consolidated into whole numbers, it moves much more similar to the way ES moves, and you can see very quickly between the two of them what one is doing versus the other. One thing I do find, and again, it was not letting me scroll up, but the point of control is also highlighted on the right hand side, and that tends to be a magnet through the day. So sometimes you'll see either the market will go up to it and then reverse, or it'll go up to it and chop around a little bit and then decide what it wants to do. But it's a very good, helpful way to see between ES and NQ also where they're up to. So sometimes you'll see the point of control will be up here and the market is down here on NQ, but the point of control will be around here and the market will be here on ES. So you know that one is weaker than the other, and you can see very easily and very quickly, just to keep an eye on it and keep it in up to date, keep it in view. Okay, so I think that's most of it. I think it's a quick introduction. You can I've also got time and sales. Again, there's nothing up here at the moment, but just to I have it filtered by more than 50, and that just gives us a quick overview and oversight as to whether what's been transacted in the market. And I think that is all. All right, thank you for watching.